Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into a cycle that, let's be honest, we are literally all caught up in. This frantic modern chase for success. We're constantly bombarded with the message to get a better job, buy a bigger house, earn more money, and just chase more of everything. We spend our whole lives running after happiness, totally convinced that the very next milestone is the one that's going to finally make us feel complete. But today, we're unpacking the source material to uncover why finding lasting peace is actually far more powerful and way more sustainable than fleeting happiness.
Because it's a brutal reality, right? Why do we still feel empty? You know the feeling. We put in the grueling hours. We finally get that promotion. Maybe we buy the absolute dream house, or we find that supposedly perfect relationship. And then what happens? The excitement just kind of fades. The happiness disappears. We're immediately left wondering why that amazing sense of completion slipped away so quickly. Well, the source text suggests that maybe, just maybe, we've been chasing the totally wrong goal this entire time. What our souls are actually longing for isn't happiness at all. It's peace.
So let's kick things off by looking at this illusion of happiness and exactly why it never really lasts. The text uses this great analogy. Think of happiness like an incredibly beautiful but super fleeting butterfly. Have you ever actually tried to catch one? The harder you run after it, the farther it flies away. Happiness is undeniably a beautiful thing, but it is deeply temporary. It shows up after good news, a wedding, a great vacation, a dream fulfilled. But the funny thing is, if you stop frantically chasing it and just sit quietly in a peaceful garden, sometimes that butterfly lands gently right on your shoulder. And this brings us to a really vital distinction made in the text. Happiness depends entirely on changing circumstances. Literally, it vanishes the second a surprise bill arrives in the mail, or someone gets sick, or a relationship ends. Our emotions just ride that roller coaster. But peace remains completely stable through the storms of life. It's not reactionary, it is foundational.
Which shifts our perspective to this much calmer, much more resonant concept. Peace acting as an anchor.
Picture a massive cargo ship out on the open ocean. When a violent storm hits, the waves are crashing, the wind is absolutely roaring. But beneath the surface, doing the real work, is an enormous anchor. That anchor keeps the massive ship completely stable. And this brilliantly illustrates how peace actually functions. Having peace doesn't magically stop the storm from happening. It just keeps you stable while you're in it. This is exactly why two people can face the exact same tragedy, yet one totally falls apart, while the other remains deeply calm. It's not because life went easier on one of them. It's because their peace is stronger than their circumstances.
So, to understand how to actually forge this anchor, the source first takes us down the ancient Stoic path to tranquility, focusing on mastering the mind.
The Stoic philosopher Epictetus basically taught a masterclass on this. He noted that emotional freedom begins the moment we stop trying to control what was never ours to control in the first place. Think about it. We can't control the economy, what other people think of us, or what happens tomorrow. Trying to control that is like trying to stop the rain. You literally can't do it. But you can choose to carry an umbrella. The Stoics recognize that true tranquility comes from strictly focusing on our own character and our own choices.
There's this brilliant ancient story of the Chinese farmer that perfectly illustrates this. So first, the farmer's horse runs away. The neighbors all cry, "What terrible luck!" The farmer just shrugs and says, "Maybe." Next, the horse returns bringing a bunch of wild horses with it. "How wonderful," the neighbors say. "Maybe," says the farmer. Then his son breaks his leg trying to tame one of those new horses. "Terrible luck," they say. "Maybe." And finally, soldiers arrive to recruit young men for a really brutal war. But because of his broken leg, the son is completely spared. This story is such a great reminder that we rarely actually know if today's massive disappointment is just tomorrow's blessing in disguise. Peace grows when we just stop assuming we can see the whole picture.
And this isn't just some dusty, ancient theory. Viktor Frankl proved this in the absolute darkest of places while imprisoned in Nazi concentration camps during World War II. Despite horrific suffering and just unimaginable loss, he observed that some prisoners still maintained their dignity and compassion. He concluded that people cannot always choose their circumstances, but they absolutely can choose their attitude toward them. Peace is absolutely not the absence of hardship. It is the presence of immense inner strength right in the middle of it.
Now, while Stoicism is all about mastering ourselves through discipline, the text explores another layer of stability found in Christian teachings, focusing on transforming the heart.
The source points to this really extraordinary offering from Jesus. "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you." What the text argues is so fascinating here is what's missing from that sentence. Jesus didn't promise a life of temporary happiness or perfect circumstances. Instead, the promise is a profound, enduring peace, one that holds up even when prayers seem unanswered, when grief is super heavy, and when the future is totally uncertain. The text argues this peace is rooted in the deep confidence that God remains present through it all. Think about it like this. If you're standing on the beach during a massive storm, the surface of the ocean is violent, it's chaotic, it's terrifying. But if you were to dive thousands of feet beneath that surface, everything completely changes. Down there, it is totally quiet, still, calm. Our changing circumstances create those chaotic waves on the surface of our lives, but true spiritual peace comes from living at that much deeper, calmer level.
And that sets up a really crucial comparison in the text: living on the surface versus living in the depths. If you live entirely on the surface, meaning your whole identity is built on money, your career, or your social status, what happens when the economy crashes or you lose that job? Everything collapses. The waves just destroy it. But living in the depths means resting your hope on eternal truths. People who anchor themselves to something eternal remain steady, even when the surface above them becomes incredibly turbulent.
So, moving into the final section, knowing that modern culture's lie to just buy more and achieve more only leads to anxiety, how do we actually build this lasting peace?
Because external success just cannot guarantee internal peace. Peace has to be intentionally cultivated. The source outlines a few key, everyday habits to get us there. First, you have to actively release the need to control everything around you. Just let it go. Second, practice daily gratitude, even for the tiny, seemingly insignificant blessings. Third, actually carve out time for quiet reflection instead of just defaulting to constant digital distraction. Fourth, and yeah, this is a tough one, forgive those who hurt you, not because they necessarily deserve it, but because holding on to bitterness actively steals your peace. And finally, invest deeply in your relationships rather than just accumulating more stuff.
Because, let's be real, genuine peace isn't some instant life hack. You can't just download an app for it or buy a subscription to it. It grows slowly, over time, through those consistent habits we just looked at. It's exactly like a tree developing deep, unbreakable roots. It takes real time, but eventually, those roots become so incredibly strong that they can withstand pretty much any wind that comes their way.
The text then highlights this deeply comforting invitation found in Scripture. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. The source frames this not as some offer for momentary entertainment or a quick thrill, but as an offer for true rest, like a deep, soul-level peace. It's the exact kind of peace you need when the medical diagnosis is scary, when the bank account drops low, or when life is just completely ignoring all of your carefully made plans. So as we wrap up this explainer, the absolute biggest takeaway from the source material is this: happiness is a wonderful gift. We should absolutely celebrate it, laugh often, and enjoy life's blessings when they happen. But do not make the mistake of building the foundation of your life on it. Happiness depends entirely on what happens around you. Peace depends on what lives within you. The text showed us how Stoicism strengthens the mind through discipline, and how Christianity transforms the heart through trust. Together, they explain why peace is what has carried human beings through wars, illness, and massive loss, when happiness simply couldn't. Happiness might brighten your day for sure, but it is peace that actually has the power to sustain your life.
I want to leave you with this final, genuinely provocative question to chew on today. What has brought you the greatest sense of peace during your life's most difficult seasons? When the storm was raging up on the surface, what was your anchor in the depths? Reflect on that. Start cultivating those deep roots and build a life on the unbreakable power of peace.